Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I just wanted to talk to you about flexibility today. I get a lot of questions from my students about flexibility because they don't understand why they're just not getting flexible. And I personally had a really hard time getting my flexibility when I was younger. It was a very, very difficult time for me. And I actually didn't gain much flexibility until my high school years, which really held me back dance-wise. Being flexible doesn't make you a better dancer by any means, but it definitely gives you more flexibility to do more. So the more flexible you are, the more you'll be able to attempt and accomplish, and with that you get to go from one level here to the next level up because you just did something a little more intricate than somebody else or one of your other competitors. So when you're doing flexibility, you need to do a few things. And number one, you need to warm your body up. Anything that gets your heart pumping, and you start feeling like, okay, I'm really warm, like my body temperature has risen, I can tell. So you need to start with a good warm-up. Then you need to do your stretching, your actual stretching. A lot of people actually start with their stretching and then they do their dancing. And yeah, I think if you do a really good stretch for about 15 minutes, really pushing yourself and breathing hard and really focusing, that's a good warm-up in itself. But with young dancers, they don't understand that, so you kind of have to warm them up first. So since you have to also focus on breathing, depending on the age range, I would definitely say little kids, if you're teaching them, give them a good warm-up. Maybe do a lesson on the breathing and the stretching. Older kids, maybe actually just get them to stretch really well. Also, when you are stretching, I see a lot of dancers get into a stretch and then get right back out. Get into a stretch, get right back out. And they'll do that over and over and over again. That actually holds them back by them doing that. It makes it so their muscles aren't stretching correctly and they're just going back to how they were, and they're not really gaining any flexibility by doing that. So make sure when you're in your flexibility, or when you're stretching, whatever stretch you're doing, you're holding it. And again, right here, that's a good thing to focus on is your breathing. Lean, and again, lean, or take 4 big deep breaths in that stretch. Go deeper. Go deeper. I know it sounds really silly, but it's what you need to do with all of your stretching. Any stretch you're in, that's a really good way to push your limits and go a little bit further each time. Third thing you need to think about is your muscle focus. What are you stretching? And where are you stretching? Your leg, you're not just stretching your leg. So say my dancer is sitting in the splits. What is my dancer focusing on? Is my dancer focusing on their ankles? Are they focusing on their hamstrings? Are they focusing on their quad? So you actually are focusing on all of those things in the splits. But what I notice is a lot of dancers are just worried about how flat they are. It's not necessarily about how flat you get. It's about what muscle focus you're paying attention to. Do I want my shoulder to be able to go back further? Do I want it, do I want my sides to be more bendy? Do I want to be able to do a deeper back bend? What specific muscle are you going to focus on for the day or in that time, in that moment? If you really want those splits, you're going to have to break it down by each muscle in your leg and actually tell that, okay, this is what's gonna happen. And so what you really need to do in your splits, if you really want them flat, you're gonna have to focus on little things like your hamstrings and your quads and your hip rotators. Those are what's gonna get your splits flat, not just chilling and trying to push them lower and lower and lower, because if you're focusing on the wrong muscle, like in your back leg, if your hips aren't squared, you're gonna end up doing those splits wrong, and then in turn you're stretching out the wrong muscle, and it's not really benefiting you that way. Like, you need to actually like notice how your body's supposed to be and do it the correct way, and don't cheat it to go any lower or whatever, because in the end, like I said, you're just hurting yourself by not doing it properly, and you're creating horrible habits. After you do your stretch, a really good thing to do is also to warm up again, or to dance. If you're not a dancer, go lift weights. If you run, go run. If you do yoga, yoga's kind of stretching in itself, but it's also a good workout and warm up. And it's just to remind your body that you can push those limits, and after you held the muscle, can you utilize the muscle and push it even further. One good thing that I have my students do is jump kicks. So you jump with your feet together, and then you kick as high as you can, as hard as you can, and I make them do it for like a full song and they hate me for it. They really do, but it's killer. Just jump, kick, jump, kick, jump, kick, jump, kick. It's so good for the leg flexibility, at least, but it's also like a really good warm-up exercise. It gets the blood pumping, and you don't lose all that. After you do that, when you're done with your workout, make sure that you're not, sometimes it's unavoidable, but really try not to let your body go into a harsh temperature drop. Try not to go from a really warm environment to a freezing cold environment. It's really bad for your muscles. That's why people wear warm-ups and sweats. It keeps their muscles warm so they don't have these issues, and then they don't pull muscles later. When you go home, a good thing to prevent like being sore with those muscles is, after your body kind of cools down, maybe take like a warm bath. Not like scorching hot, but a pretty warm bath. A lot of people do those ice baths, but that's for like intense workouts, and it just like heals really quickly, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend those for when you're trying to work on flexibility. That's more like muscles, I would think, like in strength training, and I definitely don't feel like ice baths are your best bet when it comes to keeping that flexibility going. Also, make sure you are eating right and eating well, because it's also going to help your muscles if you are feeding it the proper nutrients. Protein is really good for your muscles. As a dancer, I know we try to keep our bodies slim, so maybe eat more lean, but make sure you're getting like the proper veggies and vitamins. Okay, with your flexibility, you have to remember that it's not just gonna sit and stay. It's not gonna be there and just stay there forever. Okay, so say you get your splits flat. Wow, I got my splits flat, and then the whole week you don't work on it, and then the next week you're like, well, they were flat last week. Well, it's because you didn't continue doing them. You have to do these things every single day if you really want to see that progress, or if you want to keep your progress. It's just, you're going to hit a plateau and you're just going to sit on it if you don't work on your things every single day. So make sure that you're doing something every day, or at least every other day. Muscles do need time to heal, so I do recommend, like, I personally do the every other day thing a lot. I think that, you know, sometimes it's okay to let the soreness kind of go down and then get back into it the next day, kind of take a break. That way you're not taking a huge gap, but you're getting a good enough one to let those muscles heal. Okay, so I have an example for you. This is what I talk to about my students all the time, and it's kind of just, they don't understand the human body and the muscles quite yet. So this is something that I talk about to them and try to use as a visual or example. You kind of want to think of your muscles like a rubber band, okay? If I put this in the freezer and I pulled on it, it would probably break or stretch very little before it snapped, right? What I want to do, like, it could stretch, right? It can go pretty far. But if I sat here and like worked on it and got it hot and warm and just kept going, just working on it, and then I try to pull it, it goes a lot further and it's not gonna break. It's not gonna snap because I just warmed it up. I just got it going, okay? So that's like the process I have them do. Now look, it like went right back to its same shape, right? But if I sat there and held my stretch, I'm gonna hold it now. Holding it for a very long time because that's what you need to do, but we're also breathing through this and then pulling even harder, pulling even more. Okay, so now that I've stretched it and held it and breathed, you know, took all my deep breaths and I let it go, it's kind of hard to tell in the video, but you know, it's a little more loose than when it started. It was a lot tighter when it started. And if you feel it, now it's super easy to just like move, where before it was like really hard to pull. So that's kind of like the same as your muscles. Your muscles are going to stay that flexible and go further and really stretch more if you actually take the time to hold your stretches, warm up your body, you know, and really get those stretches going. So this is like my perfect example. Now if I were to go throw this flexible rubber band again in the freezer and then I tried to take it out, it would probably break or not last very long. So that's kind of my example of your muscles and your flexibility. I hope this kind of helps you with the visual and like the thought process of how muscles work. Yeah, so make sure you are going through those things. You're doing a warm-up, you're stretching, you're holding your stretches, you're focusing on which muscles you're stretching, you're avoiding temperature drops, you're eating right, you're working daily or every other day or daily, and you're breathing a lot. Breathe. Breathing does so much for your muscles, so please just really utilize all of that. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful for you, and I hope that kind of helps you have a better idea of how to stretch better. So feel free to list below any questions or comments you have. I will do my best to keep up on those and read them, and if you have any other ideas for videos, I would love to hear them. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and happy dancing! Bye-bye!